Welcome to another video, this time featuring the Summoner Rotation and how I perform its opener. A little disclaimer first, because I definitely not follow on the usual schedule or the usual rotation and skill order and ability order that the Balance is recommending. Just due to the fact that I feel like this opener, or how I perform it for myself at least, it's just a personal thing, subjectivity. But please note that the Balance recommended opener deals at least 300 to 400 DPS more over a whole fight, or at least over 3 minutes or something like that. I don't know. I don't think it's too bad, because it just feels way more natural for me personally. So yeah, let's hop into it. If you want to follow on that opener, look up this video. If you want to have this 300 DPS more opener from the Balance, please visit their website. They're brilliant mentors and teachers that will help you with each optimization, with each job. So leave them a like, leave them a follow onto their Discord, and yeah, try to communicate with some people there. They're really helpful, they're really generous, and they will help you out in reaching certain DPS numbers. But yeah, this time we're featuring the one that I'm performing and I'm really satisfied with, so let's start right into the Summoner Rotation. First of all, pre-pull, there's nothing or not so much to mention. You could optimize by moving the pad towards the target dummy, the fight, the actual boss, whatever. It won't get the attention of the boss unless any action is being triggered, any attack is being triggered, or anybody else is pulling the thread, the enmity of the boss. So you can just place the pad close to the boss so that it will definitely make the first hit right on the start of your rotation, or when you command it to take the first hit. So that prepared. I actually, most of the times I don't do that when I'm not hunting for high FFXIV ranks or anything, because when you just use this pad command attack, or this pad attack button skill, it will easily just walk there in the time you're casting or pre-casting your Rune 3 spell. So don't worry too much about that. It will definitely line up with your opening as well, and you can instantly use one of the Eggy Assaults to start into the fight. And that is where the key point is starting. We're starting the fight. Let me just adjust the speed here, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's better, I guess. Yeah, at the 3-second countdown before pull, you are about, or yeah, a bit less than that, you're about to cast or pre-cast Rune 3, which will then land right onto the target. And yeah, since the changes of 5.1 was it actually where they changed that, when Rune 3 is no longer depending on the dots applied to the target, so it just smashes in the raw strength and raw potency of Rune 3 into the target. No things to consider or worry about, just smashing in that Rune 3 right into the target when the fight is starting. The thing that you're instantly doing there, right afterwards, to avoid clipping, please look up any of my guides if you want to know what clipping actually is. Yeah, I can give you a very short summary. If you're using spells, casts, or anything that causes a recast timer, and yeah, in the sequence of when these recast timers have run off and you can use the next skill's cast or weapon skill, you would then cast an off global cooldown ability like Try Disaster or Energy Drain or anything like that. You would delay or clip the usage of these weapon skills or cast, and you should always avoid doing that. There are certain or very limited amounts of situations where that is kind of tricked into the rotation, but to 99% of all cases, try to avoid this at all costs. Okay, to avoid this, we're just directly starting with the first Eggy Assault. Yeah, the order in which you perform them is not so significant, but I highly recommend to always use the Eggy Assault that is single target, or that is actually targeting your enemy first, which is the Aggie Assault 1, I guess. I'm not completely sure, but I think it's Aggie Assault 1. I remember to have ordered these Aggie Assaults on my hotkeys so that I'm clicking the first on the 1 and the second on the 2, and the order is determined by what I said. The first is single target, the second is this AoE potency attack that also hits other targets or has a dot effect on the target, which, the problem there is when your pet is not on the target, it's on the way to the target, and you click the Aggie Assault 2, it will just do this AoE or this circle attack and don't hit the boss. So try to always use the first one to make sure that the pet is actually on the target and attacking the target and in close range proximity to the target. Okay, right afterwards, we're directly using Tri-Disaster before directly switching into Bahamut Trance. This is the biggest difference to the opener that the Balance are recommending. The Balance uses the technique to use the Aggie Assaults before switching over to Bahamut Trance because you don't have any boost through Bahamut Trance. But I don't think, or I think it's perfectly fine for rounding up that or using these resets of your stances, that all of your stances except the Bahamut stance or the Bahamut summon do always reset your Tri-Disaster, which is very important for your whole rotation. And I always prefer that this is lining up perfectly and you don't have to artificially create something that works to just line up with all raid buffs perfectly. That you lose some DPS by doing that, but it's not so much that I would sacrifice the feeling of having a very nice flow in that rotation. So we're just starting with Tri-Disaster, and as you can see right now, we already did that and already reset the countdown or the cooldown of Tri-Disaster by directly swapping into the Dreadworm Trance. And in the Dreadworm Trance, every of your casts is instant except Raise. The raising spell has a longer cast time, so it's reduced by its cast time, but it's not an instant spell. So note that I always try to keep my swift cast for raising opportunities because it's not a big deal and not a significant DPS boost, so that I would sacrifice the opportunity to being ready for raises, resurrecting people all the time. I love to have this back in my mind and as a safe zone or safety keeper that is very important for progress rating or anything like that. But I know. Now you could also use or always use these Ruin 3 spells because they're instant, and this will provide you space and room and time for weaving in OGCDs that you now are recommended to use in this spot. The thing here, you're actually wasting the potential of having instant cast by just still using Aggie Assaults now. As you can see, we're just about to use the second Aggie Assault inside of this Dreadworm Trance, even if that's already an instant spell without Dreadworm Trance, and you're wasting the potential to use Rune 3 as an instant spell. But we just want to gather up these further rune stacks with which you are able to cast Rune 2 that transforms into Rune 4, and you need those for the Bahamut phase. Okay, you have seen I used a part here that is optional, but important is that you don't use Ether Pact at this point because it would be a bit too early for lining up with your teammates' raid buffs, so I always try to delay that a bit by using the pot. So if you can afford it, use a pot there and switch back into the first Aggie Assault. Always rotate between those if you secured that your pet is in close proximity to your target. Okay, then you start continuing and use Ether Pact. I'm not totally to 100% sure if that is the perfect spot for raid synergy on this spot here. But for my opener, it works only in that way because now you're using another Aggie Assault, and as this Ether Pact has kind of a short delay, the pet needs some time to actually cast that Ether Pact. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's quite fast, but most of the times it's somewhere in between. So give your pet some time to actually cast that. and then wait for that cast to happen until you're weaving in your Flaming Strike, your Enkindle ability here. As you can see, it's just struck you with the buff of Ether Pact, and you could finish off your Aggie Assaults, now accumulating the 4th stack of Further Rune and using Fester in between that. Always make sure that you never weave in more than 2 OGCDs in between your Aggie Assaults or Rune spells, because, yeah, you don't need to. You have perfect times to do that right now. And here is the thing. If you're running with a Dancer, if the Dancer is buffing you, you should definitely switch the rotation here and directly use Death Flare now and switch into Bahamut right now. But if you're not having that strictly and highly, insanely buffing window like Dance Partner Close Position is doing to you, this insane critical and direct hit rate, just use another Rune 3, because my idea is, why not? Why not? The countdown for your Dreadworm trance, for being the next transformed into your Phoenix and your Firebird trance, it's already running. So you can have the time. And the buff window is still on. They're still running. Trick Attack is still on there. Battle Litany will be in there. And you still get in the big ones of Bahamut, the Akhmorn, and refreshing your dots into that spot of your potion, into that spot of the lining up with dots. Of course, I may not be correct to 100%. There are definitely people that are stronger at this mathematical rearrangement and order of things. But believe it or not, it doesn't matter too much. You will deal the amount of damage that is required. So don't worry too much about that. If you're optimizing for DPS, then go to the balance. If you want a nice and solid DPS value taking you into any Savage encounter and beating every boss, then just follow this easy scheme, because I think it's really straightforward and comfortable to do that. Just use the last Rune 3, if you're not having the least amount of spell speed maybe, on this spot, and directly use Death Flare in that recast timer of the last Rune 3, and also directly switch into Bahamut. As you can see, we're using Bahamut, and we're instantly using Rune 4 because they changed the delay of Bahamut. In 5.0 or 5.0, they haven't changed that, and you always had to cast a Rune 3 before that, so that, yeah, you're taking into account that delay that Bahamut is having, the summoning delay. You may know from card games where you summon a monster and it cannot attack directly or something. I don't know. But yeah, this is cleared. You don't have a delay. You can directly cast Rune 4, the proc that we built up now, and let it follow with an Akhmorn. And this will guarantee you the first Akhmorn being early on. And as you can see on screen, we also had the first Worm Wave coming. The optimal Worm Wave count is 8, but you can, yeah, it's not a, yeah, you lose some DPS if you're having 7 or 6, of course. But if the fight is demanding, or if you have to really care for mechanics and cannot optimize this on a certain spot, it's not the end of the world. You can stand that. It's just a lost Worm Wave, of course. It's 10k DPS that's missing, 10k damage that's missing in that spot. But yeah, it's not the world's end. Okay, now we're switching into the casting sequence. Note that if you're having movement, you should just stick to spamming Rune 4 until you have no procs anymore and switch back to Rune 2. If movement is really your biggest concern and you just don't want to die through having being hit by any AoE attack or anything. Okay, now we're using Rune 3 in that spot because this will open up saving the Rune 4 procs for when we actually need them. Right now we're having the buffs, the dots running that you don't need to reapply. We have no OGCD that you need to throw in right now, and the second Akhmorn can wait a bit longer at the same spot, and I like to do that when you weave in Rune 4 again, opening up space for OGCDs to avoid clipping and delaying. And now you can just use Akhmorn and then use Tri-Disaster so that it gets reapplied right at the point where yeah, your dots running off. So now you're having a very, very flowing rotation in that spot, and everything lines up perfectly so that you can use the last 5 seconds of Bahamut to, yeah, use your procs of Rune 4. And as you can see, the worm waves are following when you're not having a too bad spell speed in that scenario. Okay, going back into that normal Eggy Assault window, you can now use the Eggy Assaults to, yeah, get your stacks back up running. You could also start saving Rune 4 now again, and yeah, don't use Eggy Assaults when you don't need to weave in OGCDs, because yeah, these are your best way of granting opportunities to get these OGCDs into your enemy and running. Maybe you want to use Lucid Dreaming because you have raised someone already, or you need to decrease the damage, the incoming damage, by using Addle or anything like that. But yeah, you will definitely keep up the stacks. And now, as you can see, we have Phoenix coming up very early because we used that Dreadworm trance very early. This may also not line up perfectly with all the second buffs, but I think the second window is, yeah, actually a bit above that or a bit behind that, so it's not a big deal now, but it may be a big deal in 2 or 3 circles and cycles. But most of the bosses have transition phases, so it actually doesn't matter too much. If you had a static 10 minutes fight where there's no intersection, no phase in between, no pause to the boss fight and attacking the boss, then it would definitely matter a bit, but not from this point. Yeah, just go in there when it's ready. Don't wait too long. If you're having Ether Pack ready on the second or third run of your rotation, then you should definitely wait 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds or something like that. Use your Ether Pack, and even when it's not displayed on your status, on your buffs, because your pet is being, yeah, dispersed, so to say, it's still there. It's just hidden because you have summoned a stronger pet, and yeah, that replaces the, yeah, buff, the shown buffs on your screen, but they're still there. It's very strange. I think that's still kind of a bug, but these buffs are still there. Don't get that wrong. They're still up and help you with increasing the damage. Okay, now, because Firebird Trance is also an OGCD, you want to weave something or cast something before that is also an instant cast. And yeah, we have accumulated some stacks for Rune 4, so just use them now, or if you have saved an Eggy Assault, it's time to use it now. So that will help you getting back into Firebird Trance and also resetting your Tri-Disaster cooldown, of course, and you can directly use the Enkindle to throw out Revelation onto your target, which is a blast. Literally a blast. Okay. That being said, always check if your dot application is yeah, needing some more minutes or seconds, but in our spot it's working out perfectly. It's very close, I guess, but as you can see, the last tick of dots is here. It's being there, it's ticking, and we just replaced that in the second it ticked. It's very close right now. But yeah, you can go the safe way and really wait for that 1 second afterwards, or yeah, maybe you can actually watch the screen and see it ticking, but that's really optimization, and yeah, have fun to do that in a really chaotic fight. But yeah, just take your dot timers here and yeah, get that around the 1 second mark, get your reapplication of dots running and out at the 1 second mark. Okay, now it's simpler than ever, and this is the most simple part of all your rotation, and you can easily use this to have a very nice movement phase, or yeah, kind of use that against movement if you have a certain phase where you know you have to constantly move, and yeah, by delaying Firebird Trance by 5 to 6 seconds will help you with that movement. Then absolutely do that, because the Firebird Trance is, you can completely and freely move around without any obstacle. So just use that and spam your rotation from, yeah, using your 2 attacks in alternation. The Band of Purgatory and Scarlet Fire always in alternation, and weave in between those OGCDs that are coming up ready. Energy drain, definitely use that whenever it's ready and you don't have any stacks left. And yeah, I don't care so much about buff lining up, so I just like to throw in Festa here as well, because we want to get rid of that before entering back the Summoner stance when you have to manually cast the stuff here. And yeah, that's the 2-minute cycle, which I guess we just interrupted, or yeah, the last one is remaining, which is the Summoner stance. And this will be the only phase where in my rotation you have to manually reapply the dots. And you just do that by casting Miasma and Bio on about the 3-4 second mark of the fight. Or yeah, 2 seconds is totally fine as well. At this spot, I actually delayed it, as you can see. I was a bit too late. Maybe, yeah, I was just... I don't know why when I filmed this video, but I guess it was not a very early time of the day. But here we are, using that a bit too late, of course, the dot reapplication, and getting in, or getting back the Aggie Assaults to accumulate the Rune 4 stacks. And as you can see, we already have the 4 stacks ready that we don't need right now, because we only need those for, of course, movement, and if you don't have Aggie Assaults ready, or when you're re-entering the Bahamut stance again. Then it's always a blessing to have these Rune 4 procs ready at your disposal and using them for getting the perfect 8 worm rays out into your opponent. Okay, now we're using the second Dreadworm trance, and here you can see the Aggie Assaults are getting ready again, and I always use them inside of the Dreadworm trance, which of course doesn't help us much with movement, but it's not a big deal. It's really for taking that flow into account. And I don't know, as you can see, I hit that Rune 4 just before actually refreshing that dot, or that Aggie Assault, and I think it didn't. It didn't actually fill up the Aggie Assault because I summoned too early, maybe? Yeah, I think I summoned too early, so I'm losing 1 stack of Rune proc, so yeah, try to avoid that. But yeah, you can learn it in the best way when I'm doing mistakes, right? So try to avoid that, give your pet a little chance to get the stack running, or don't use Aggie Assault in that spot when you already filled these Aggie Assaults up. Yeah, you don't need to do that. You could just run through the Rune 3 casts and have a smooth transition into Bahamut. And this is where we actually end the fight with Bahamut. I don't know if we're using Akhmorn to end it. Yeah, should be. And yeah, I tested this right now with a bit of gear improvement, and you can definitely throw out more than 20k DPS on the Eden's Promise dummy as well, if you're having some RNG, good RNG and good crits and luck, and it's perfectly fine to do that. And yeah, when talking about gear, let's hop into that spot again. There's nothing more to tell you than just go all the way into critical hit, then choose the proper pieces with direct hit afterwards and meld in crit, direct hit and determination in that order. And try to avoid spell speed in the best case, because nearly all of your spells are instant casts and don't profit too much from spell speed, and all your OGCDs don't profit from spell speed at all. So they are completely not beneficial to your OGCDs, which yeah, are actually your main damaging spell. And even if they improve the damage of your dots, it's not a significant improvement compared to all the other stats that you could, yeah, get in front of that or favor. Yeah, thank you. That is my rotation, how I perform it with the Summoner. I did this since 5.1 and it didn't let me, yeah, it didn't disappoint me at any point. So you can definitely clear all sorts of content with that rotation if you're gearing up yourself, if you're not doing critical mistakes on certain encounters, and if you're performing that raw 20k or next to 20k, maybe 19k DPS, you still pull your weight. so don't worry too much about anything else. Of course, maybe not Eden 12 Savage right now with the gear that I'm presenting here, but as soon as gear progresses onwards, you will definitely push the boundaries of this fight as well with even this rotation. Okay, thank you all for watching. Thank you for your amazing support. Thank you for your feedback on this format. I'm still trying to improve that. I'm also working on another video, and I'm still working on the true beginner video for the monk, which is definitely very important to do. So yeah, thank you for letting me do this in this format. This saves up some time, and hopefully it can help you improving your summoner rotation, black mage, or whatever job I'm presenting. Thank you, stay healthy, stay safe, and until next time, keep loving Final Fantasy.